Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Sorry if that was loud. If you don't know who I am, my name is Chuck. I make videos for NBA, make videos for NFL. All these videos, they get posted on this subreddit right here. It's called DF Sports with 1S. I make updates with all the news that comes out throughout the day. Very, very important. And you can ask me questions leading up to lock about the slate. I'll be here every single day answering all your questions. So really, really important. I find it, it helps me talking with you guys strategy and a lot from these videos does change, so being able to talk with you guys, definitely it's a win-win situation. Like, it helps me, it makes me better, and then talking more strategy, because the more strategy, the more research you do, you're obviously going to get better. And then I hopefully it helps you guys as well, because a lot of times in these videos a lot of stuff will change, right? So I find that very, very important. But yeah, let's go over my lineup from tonight. And didn't cash tonight. It's all right though. Where are we? Here's my lineup. So if you guys are interested in core plays, where I give you guys a core four, player pools, private videos, all that good stuff, I'll have a link to my Discord down below. But if you guys watched my video from last night, and I don't know why I didn't do this, but you guys knew I was absolutely in love with this Sacramento game. As you can see, I only have Hayes and De'Aaron Fox from this game. But if you watch my video from last night, in that Sacramento game, I told you guys I absolutely loved Sabonis. He absolutely smashed. I loved Fox, and then I loved all of Detroit. I really liked Duran. I really liked Ivy. I really liked Killian Hayes. I really liked Bojan. So, like, if you guys stack that game up, with me absolutely loving it. Hopefully, some of you guys had some big, big nights tonight, because that was a game I absolutely loved. I wish I got more of it. As you guys know, Sabonis and Fox were two of my favorite contrarian spin ups on the slate. I play the plays that I like, that I tell you guys I like. So I did go with Fox. He was the one who had the bad game out of Fox and Sabonis. Um, don't regret it at all. But my core today was Desmond Bain. He smashed. Marcus Smart. He smashed, but he got hurt. Killian Hayes was a core play, and Vince Williams was a core play. So core did great. I just didn't put good enough pieces around the core to have a good enough night tonight. So hopefully you guys had a great night tonight, and let's get into this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 game slate for tomorrow, the 10th of January. All right, Minnesota at Boston. So not a good spot here going up against Boston. Also not a good spot for Boston on the other side of this game. So, like, not much stands out to me. If you want to go to like a cat, I still do think he's a little bit underpriced. Like, he absolutely smashed up against Orlando today. It was another really, really tough spot. So I still think cat's a bit underpriced. If you want to go to him, it's fine. But, like, no real standouts here going up against Boston. Rudy Gobert, I mean, he's playing huge, huge minutes right now. Like another guy. We'll also keep an eye on the news with Porzingis and Al Horford. Like, he could be going up against guys like Luke Cornett, Brissett, stuff like that. So maybe a little bit of interesting Gobert, but mainly this team just more contrarian place. Man, I don't love the spot. Mike Conley at 5'9", I would say is overpriced. McDaniels will play huge minutes. I mean, he's not going to be productive when he's out there, but with the amount of minutes he's playing, he is viable. Like, fine as like a last piece in filler play for me. Good defender, can get defensive stats as well. So, like, fine with it. Not a standout play, but fine. Kyle Anderson, he's only playing like high teens to low 20s minutes. That sheet stuff where I feel like will have better value opening up. And then I'm not going to go to anyone else. So, Boston. So this is a mess. All right, we have Al Horford questionable. We have Drew Holiday questionable. We have Kristaps Porzingis questionable. So this is a headache right now. So if everyone's in going up against the best defensive team in the league, I will probably skip this team. I don't think anyone would really stand out to me. I would prefer the Minnesota guys on this side of the game, but if we get a situation where all these guys are out, then we're gonna have to have some interest in this team. Like, I don't even know what they would do with the starting lineup here. Like, Could we get Peyton Pritchard in the starting lineup and Luke Cornett? So, like, what? Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Luke Cornett? Like, if that's the case and Luke Cornett starts at the 5, I really like Luke Cornett for value. If we get Peyton Pritchard starting, even if he comes off the bench, I still think he's a really solid value as well because he's going to get a massive bump, especially minutes-wise, might play like low 20s even off the bench. So I'd like Pritchard. If Cornett for some reason starts, I like him. You're going to see more run for guys like Brissett, who would be playable. Keep an eye on the snooze and what they do with the starting lineup. I know one game they started Banton. They could just move like White to the point, but the main guys would look a lot better, like Tatum, Brown, Derek White. I would like all three quite a bit. White might look the best point per dollar, but all three would look good. And then, yeah, just keep an eye on the news. Keep an eye on what they do with the starting lineup. I believe the last game that Cornett started was this game. I believe Porzingis and Horford were out, but Drew and White were in, and I think Tatum and Brown were in. But yeah, keep an eye on that news. It's the early game. I'll make updates on Reddit when we do get that news. All right, I'm intrigued here. I say this every time. When Washington is in a competitive game and the main guys are playing well, they will run a tight rotation. They will play their guys over 30 minutes in a competitive game. No Halliburton on the other side of this game. It's a smash spot, pace up spot. Both these teams are top in the league in pace. So yeah, I'd like these guys for tournaments. I like Kuzma. I think Denny's solid at 6'4". Tyus Jones is playable. Jordan Poole is playable. Daniel Gafford, I think, is fine. It's disgusting to say, but I like this team quite a bit for tournaments. Corey Kispert, he'll see low 20s minutes, a reasonable value. But yeah, if they keep this game close in a really good spot, in a pace-up spot, you could see some big games here, especially from like Kuzma or Denny. I think those two would be my favorite point per dollar. But Jordan Poole is viable, Tyus is viable. So it really comes down to on what you think the rotation is going to be and how well these Washington guys play, because I'm very intrigued by this team for tournaments tomorrow. All right, moving on to the Pacers. So we'll see what they do with the starting lineup. They could start Nembhard. They could start TJ. Last game at the half, I want to say they started Nembhard, and then he picked up a quick fifth foul, and he never came back until the fourth quarter. I think that's what I want to say happened. Yeah, they did start Nembhard in the second half. He only played 12 minutes and was in foul trouble, just absolutely wild. So if they start TJ McConnell, I still like him even at this price point. He's such a good producer. I would still like him even at 6.7. Nembhard would be fine off the bench if he comes off the bench. If they start Nembhard, then I like Nembhard. I don't know if I can pay this price point for TJ McConnell off the bench. And then the wings, like I think they're all solid. Trying to figure out which one's gonna have the big game is going to be utter pain. But guys like Nesmith, Bruce Brown, Benedict Mathurin, I think are all firmly in play for tournaments in a smash spot. So those guys look good. Jalen Smith, he's been getting some backup 5 runs. His minutes have been a lot safer of late. You guys always know I like targeting Daniel Gafford's, like Miles Turner, Jalen Smith. I think Miles Turner's a pretty good play. Jalen Smith I'm interested in. Obi Toppin might get a little bit more run, playable value. So yeah, there's a lot to like in this game, and it's absolutely scary. Scary stuff. All right, moving on to Sacramento. So really good spot here. I once again like Sabonis and I like Fox. I think both are solid spin ups. Given the matchup, I give the slight edge to Sabonis, but they're going to run a tight rotation in competitive games. Now, can Charlotte keep this game close? God, I pray. But yeah, like Sabonis, like Fox. Monk had a huge game tonight. If he gets extended, this is what can happen. I would say he's priced right. Keegan Murray had a big game as well. Don't love the price point. And then Harrison Barnes, he'll see around 30 minutes, is playable. What happened tonight? Did he get injured or just benched? I think he got benched. Trey Lyles played 32 minutes. That's definitely an outlier. I think normally he'll play high teens minutes. Playable. I think we'll have better value though. Moving on to Charlotte. So PJ Washington is doubtful. That's pretty important. And Cody Martin's questionable. Good spot. Pace up spot. Both teams play fast, so Terry Rozier, Miles Bridges, I like both quite a bit. They're both playing over 40 minutes a game right now. They're just doing everything for this team. So Terry Rozier played 44 minutes last game, so sign me up for both. I'm not saying to play both, but I think both look very solid. If PJ is going to be out, if Cody Martin's out, like Nick Richards played 38 minutes last game. I played him last slate. I think this game went to overtime actually. But he was on pace for huge minutes, got into foul trouble. I like him quite a bit. And then if Cody Martin plays, he's a solid value. And then if Cody Martin's out, Nick Smith, Bryce McGowan, JT Thor, these guys are in play. But it's pretty disgusting. All right, moving on to the Spurs. So Trey Jones been starting, been playing huge minutes. I think he's a really good play at 5.8K. Like him a ton, stat sheet stuffer. They actually have a point guard playing for once, so I like Trey Jones. Wemby, I don't know what Pop's doing there, so just a tournament-only play. Vassell, Keldon Johnson I have interest in. I like Vassell. Really good spot going up against Detroit. The floor is low when he's not hitting his shots, but when he is hitting his shots, he does have this type of ceiling. I would say, the floor is even lower, playing alongside Trey Jones, but like Vassell, Keldon Johnson even should play around 30 minutes. He's fine. Like I said, I like Trey Jones a ton. Sochan's playable. Give the edge to Trey Jones. I don't think I'm going to mess with this bench. Just not going to do it. All right, moving on to Detroit. It's Cade out once again. So, yeah, got to consider these guys in a smash spot. So, Duren, if got into massive foul trouble tonight, should play big minutes as long as he stays out of foul trouble. Really good spot. So I really like Duren. I like Ivy quite a bit once again. I like Bojan quite a bit once again. I like Killian Hayes for value once again at 5.5, even though he had a bad game tonight. Marcus Sasser's in play as a value play at 3.9K. Wiseman will get the backup 5. He's fine. Livers barely played tonight. Livers is playable. I don't really know what happened tonight with his minutes, but yeah. All right, moving on to let me just check if he got into foul trouble. No fouls. All right, moving on to the Sixers. No Joel Embiid. We have DeAnthony Melton questionable. That's really important news. So if Melton's in, I love Tyrese Maxey. I love Tobias Harris. Just a smash spot going up against Atlanta. I think both look great. If Melton's in, I think Melton's a solid play, assuming he's not on a limit. And then if he's in, it's going to make guys like Kelly Oubre, Marcus Morris, Pat Bev a bit riskier. Those three guys would just be tournament plays for me. Paul Reed's minutes haven't been great, but I like his upside for tournaments. I don't know if I could go to much else, though. But if Melton's out, that does change some things. Then I think Ubre's a really good play at 6.2. And then I like Pat Bev quite a bit for value if Melton's out. I would expect decent minutes. I don't know if he plays 34 minutes again, but, he's a guy that's going to have ball to hands a decent amount. If he gets close to like 25 to 30 minutes at this price point, sign me up for him. So if Melton's out, I like Pat Bev for value. Then guys like Marcus Morris become solid values. Nick Batum would be playable at 4.2K. Could even consider like a Jaden Springer for large field tournaments. Daniel House was a DMP, so I wouldn't go to him. Moving on to Atlanta. So we have Trae Young probable, and we have Clint Capella questionable. So if Capella's out, Onyeka Okongwu is going to stand out as the best value play on the slate. I would absolutely love him. Jalen Johnson will get a bump. He'd be fine. DeJounte Murray, I think, is solid at 7.4. That does seem a bit too cheap. Trae Young, I think, is okay as a spend up as well at 9.9. And then guys like Bog, Bay, they're playable. Don't love the price points. And then you'll probably see like Bruno back up 5 if Capella's out would be a viable value at that price point. And then if Capella's in, then a Capella Okongwu will split the sentiment. I still think Okongwu would be a solid value just because the price point's down. Should play low 20s minutes, good point per minute guy. Jalen would be playable. The guards would be fine. Bay, All right, moving on to OKC. So not a good spot here. I think Shai's okay spend up. Chet at 7.7, I would say is priced right for this spot. Jalen Williams, overpriced. Josh Giddey, the minutes aren't great. It's more of a tournament play for me, even though he'll be productive when he's on the court. Lou Dort, kind of the same with like a McDaniels, like going to play big minutes, good defender, can get defensive stats, just like a fine filler play. Isaiah Joe will see around 20 minutes off the bench, a reasonable value. And I think that's it. Moving on to Miami, so Kyle Lowry is doubtful. We also have Caleb Martin doubtful. So I would assume Jay Rich moves into the starting lineup and just starts at the point. If that's the case, I really like Jay Rich for value. He gets such a boost playing the point as well. So really like Jay Rich for value. Jovic has been starting. He's fine, but definitely an outlier performance last game. I would say he's priced right. Kevin Love's been playing alongside Bam. Like, you give him 25 minutes, 5.3K. Like that for tournaments. Tyler Hero, Bam. I think Bam's a really good play. Like the spot quite a bit for Bam. So I like Bam. Harrow's playable. Jackus is playing like 40 minutes a game. Stat sheet stuffer, reasonable. And then I don't think I'd go to much else. Like, you might see some I don't know. Might see some RJ Hampton, I guess, at 3K. They could even start him, I guess. They've done that in the past, but keep an eye on that. If they start like an RJ at the Flatman, then RJ, fine. And then Jay Rich, I would still like. All right, moving on to Houston. Not a good spot going up against Chicago. But I do like the price point on Fred. I think Sengun and Fred are fine contrarian spin ups if you want to go to either of them. Fred's just playing huge minutes right now, stuffing the stat sheet. So I think Fred's a bit too cheap. Don't like the spot, but playable. Jabari Smith, I mean, he was god awful last game, but with no Tari Eason, as long as he doesn't have this bad of a game, he'll play close to 40 minutes. So I like Jabari as a bounce back candidate. Jayshawn Tatum play huge minutes. He's just been god awful, but I think a solid value. You'll see some Amen Thompson, Jeff Green, but I'm not going to go to those guys. All right, Chicago. So Levine, everyone's back. Caruso, we also have probable. Vooch came off the bench last game, still played 30 minutes. Levine played big minutes off the bench as well. Keep an eye on, I guess, what they do here. There's no standouts with everyone back, though. Although I will say Kobe White's still playing huge minutes, so I have some interest in him. But like with everyone healthy, with what they're doing with the rotations, there's really no standouts here. Don't love anything. All right, moving on to the Pels. So Zion is questionable. If he's in, the main guys are okay. Like Ingram, Zion, CJ, they're fine contrarian plays for me. Jonas, Nance, they're splitting the center minutes right now. I prefer the price point on Nance. Herb Jones overpriced. I wouldn't get to the value though. Now, if Zion's out, then yeah, fire up some Ingram, fire up some CJ. I think both would look good in the mid-range. Two of the better mid-range plays in the slate. I think both would be solid. Like both quite a bit. The bigs don't change for me. Trey Murphy, so keep an eye on if he's going to be on a limit. They limited him to 25 minutes last game. If we get news that he is not on a limit, then I like him a lot at 5.6K. And then, guys like Najee Marshall, if Alvarado's out, then we can start considering like a Dyson Daniels. He'll play in a blowout as well if you think this game blows out. Najee Marshall would be playable. If Alvarado plays, you can consider him, etc. And then if Alvarado's out as well, you could even consider like a Jordan Hawkins, who will probably get run as well, assuming Zion and Alvarado are out. Steve Kerr. Don't do this to me, man. All right. Last game, they started Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Kuminga, and Trace. I want to say, let's just pull up that rotation. You want to know what Steve Kerr does at half? Yeah, that was the starting lineup. He benches Trace, benches Wiggins, benches Kuminga. Unrightfully so for Kuminga. He should not have benched him. Wiggins, sure. Keep an eye on what they're going to do with the starting lineup. If they go with that same starting lineup of Trace, Kuminga, and Wiggins, then I think Kuminga and Wiggins are solid plays, but there's always the risk of them just getting benched. Trace would be fine. I think Podziemski is pretty safe. I think he's going to play around 30 minutes anyway, so like he's probably my favorite of this grouping. Steph just didn't play for tournaments. Clay, I mean, I don't love it. Like, now, if we get a situation where they change their starting lineup and we get like a Saric in this, they go with the second half lineup that they went with Dario Saric, what was it? Saric, Podziemski, Looney, Clay, and Steph. Then yeah, I like Saric. I like Looney. I have interest in. I like Podziemski, and then I have interest in the value, but it's just tough to say right now. Moody's playable as well. He'll play in a blowout too if you think for some reason this game blows. It's just tough to say until we get a starting lineup. I have no idea what Steve Kerr is going to do here. I just don't. So hopefully this video helped you guys out, and I will talk to y'all in the next one.